You're texting back and forth. The conversation flows. There's chemistry. There's connection. And then, suddenly she goes quiet. Not angry quiet. Not busy quiet. Just quiet. You replay every moment in your head. Did you say something wrong? Did you move too fast? Come on, too strong. But here's what Carl Jung would tell you. This isn't about what you did. It's about what she's protecting herself from. And understanding that changes everything. There's a type of woman who's learned to survive emotionally. Quietly. Her calm isn't coldness. It's defense. Her distance isn't rejection. It's recalibration. To understand her, you need to understand this. For some women, getting close doesn't feel safe. It feels dangerous. Intimacy becomes a mirror, reflecting not just beauty, but scars, memories, and every betrayal love has ever carried. Jung talked about the anima, the emotional, intuitive part of the psyche. When a woman feels safe, her anima is vibrant, expressive, warm. But when she's been hurt, ignored, or left unseen, she retreats, not outwardly, inwardly, into herself, into silence. Because somewhere along the way, the world taught her this. Show too much, and you'll lose everything. So when someone gets close enough to see her softness, to feel her light, and maybe even her shadows, her instinct isn't to open more. It's to step back, to breathe, to find her center again. Not because she doesn't want love, but because she's afraid of disappearing inside it. Some women don't run from love. They run from caring too much. Because that's when it gets dangerous. That's when her nervous system lights up. That's when she remembers what happened last time. Jung would say, this is the conflict between the self she shows and the self she protects. So when she pulls away, it's not indifference. It's self-protection. She's not testing you. She's testing the space between you. Can it hold what she's feeling? Can it hold her quiet? Because her silence, it's not empty. It's full of questions. Will he still want me if I show him this part of myself? Can I trust what I'm feeling? Is this real or another illusion? What happens if I let go? And he does too. Her stillness isn't absence. It's containment. Containment of emotion, of vulnerability, of truth she hasn't found words for yet. She's not punishing you. She's processing, and in that space, she needs to feel safe, not pursued, not questioned, not fixed, just safe. Because feminine self-protection doesn't always look like pulling away. It can look like grace, like strength, like perfect stillness. But underneath, there's a quiet storm. And you're standing at the edge of something fragile. So here you are, standing at the edge of something fragile. And this is where most men make a crucial mistake. When faced with her silence, they rush in. They text again. They call. They need to know what's wrong. Need to fix it. Need her to respond right now. If I just say the right thing, she'll open up again. But here's what they don't realize. That urgency, it isn't love. It's fear. And she can feel the difference. Carl Jung understood something most men miss. The feminine doesn't open because you convince her to. She opens when she feels safe to. The moment she senses that your need for her response is stronger than your ability to respect her silence, something inside her locks down even tighter. It's a paradox that will drive you crazy. She might crave connection, intimacy, closeness, but her body remembers what it felt like to give too much, too soon. Her heart remembers being the one who always showed up, who always gave, who always healed, only to be left with her own needs completely ignored. So now, she doesn't run toward love. She observes it from a safe distance. She's watching you, studying how you handle her pause. Will you panic and flood her with messages? Will you try to fix her? Will you take her silence as a personal rejection? Because the man who can't handle her stillness, the one who fears her quiet, isn't the man who can handle her depth. Jung called this projection. The moment you begin projecting your need for certainty onto her silence, you stop seeing her and start chasing your own fear. You want her to respond, not because you need her truth, but because you need relief from your own discomfort. But here's what's really happening. The woman who pulls away after getting close isn't playing games. She's doing internal work. She's quietly asking herself the same questions we talked about earlier. Will he still want me? If I show him this part of myself, can I trust what I'm feeling right now? Is this real? Or am I setting myself up to get hurt again? And if you try to interrupt that process, if you rush in with your anxiety and your need for answers, she'll retreat even further. Because she's not testing you. She's testing the space between you. Will it hold her complexity, her grief, her contradictions, and her mystery? Feminine energy, when it's healthy, is like water. It flows where it feels accepted. But when it's wounded, it becomes like mist, hard to hold, ever shifting, easily scattered by the wrong kind of pressure. So when she pulls away, don't chase her shadow. Hold the space she left behind, not as emptiness, but as an invitation for her to return when she's ready. But here's the hardest truth I can give you. Sometimes she doesn't come back. Not because she didn't feel something real with you, but because she felt too much. Because in that moment of deep connection, something inside her whispered, "This feels too familiar." And she listened, not to you, but to the version of herself she abandoned years ago. The version she promised never to forget again. In that silence, in that disappearance, she was reclaiming someone precious, the woman she was, before she learned to lose herself in pleasing others, before she gave everything and got crumbs in return. The girl who once loved without fear. She met all those parts of herself in her stillness. And when she did, she remembered something crucial. Love should never feel like forgetting who you are. And sometimes she makes a different choice entirely. There's a haunting kind of strength in the woman who walks away quietly, not out of anger, not to hurt you, but because she's learned something precious. If she doesn't protect her peace, no one else will. Jung would call this the awakening of the individuated feminine. This is the woman who's no longer ruled by the need to be chosen, validated, or constantly understood. She doesn't speak often, but when she does, her words carry weight. And when she's silent, what you're feeling isn't emptiness. It's the absence of access. Here's what most people get wrong about love. They think it's about presence, being there constantly, staying close, responding immediately. But for her, love isn't proximity. It's recognition. Recognition of her space, of her natural rhythms, of the places in her soul that were never meant to be invaded. So when she begins to pull away, after emotional intimacy, she's not punishing you. She's returning to herself. And that might be the hardest truth. For someone who thought love meant merging completely, but merging without awareness becomes erasure. And a woman who's done her inner work has no desire to disappear into someone else ever again. She's already walked through her shadows. She's met the hidden parts of herself. The part that used to cling too fast. The part that apologized for being sensitive. The part that feared abandonment so deeply, she'd rather leave first. Now, she moves from clarity, not from desperation. Her detachment isn't coldness. It's wisdom. You might be wondering, how do you love someone like that? How do you hold space for a woman who vanishes and reappears, who softens and sharpens, who gives and withdraws like the tide? The answer isn't chasing her. It isn't questioning her. It's witnessing her. You have to become still enough to hear her silence, secure enough to withstand her uncertainty, mature enough to understand her pulling away isn't rejection. It's a return to her own center, because she doesn't fear love. She fears becoming small inside it. And if you try to pull her closer, with promises, with pressure, with the anxious grip of your own wounds, you only prove that her distance was necessary. Jung believed we're all trying to become whole, to integrate our shadows, to reclaim the parts of ourselves we've abandoned, to stop looking for worth in someone else's eyes. So when she retreats, ask yourself, can I love her without needing to possess her? Can I see her fully, even when she disappears? Can I honor her silence as part of her language, not a lack of it? Because to love the feminine is to love paradox. To love her is to love the moon. Not always visible, but always there. She waxes, she wanes, but she's never less powerful. In her quiet phases, the woman who walks away quietly isn't running from love. She's protecting it. She's protecting the part of herself that knows the difference between connection and consumption. And if you can learn to love her in her distance, the same way you love her in her presence, you might just discover something extraordinary. A love that doesn't ask her to shrink, and a woman who finally feels safe enough to stay. But there's something deeper happening here, something most people miss entirely. There's a sacred kind of intelligence in the way she detaches, a silence that isn't born of indifference, but of ancient memory. She has loved before. She has bled before. She has opened her heart like a cathedral to people who only wanted a souvenir. So now, when she pulls away, it's not random. It's precise, intentional. It's her nervous system whispering, "We've been here before, and it cost us too much." Carl Jung called this the echo of the unconscious wound. The place inside us that still reacts, still recoils, even when logic says, "You're safe now." And for the feminine, that wound often carries unseen history. Generational silence, emotional abandonment, the subtle conditioning to always be pleasant, give more, ask less. She's learned to carry that burden with grace. But grace isn't the absence of pain. It's the art of holding it with dignity. So when closeness starts to feel like surrender, when affection starts to feel like exposure, she pulls away, not to punish, but to preserve. And here's what most people don't understand. Her distance isn't just a response to you. It's a reckoning with herself. She's asking the same questions as before, but now they go deeper. Can I stay present without losing my center? Will I be seen beyond my softness? Can this connection hold my fullness, or only my fragments? Jung wrote that relationship is the crucible of transformation. It reveals what we haven't yet integrated. And in love, the feminine often finds herself mirroring his hunger until she realizes she's starving. So now, she fasts. She steps back. She listens to her own hunger first. Here's where most men get it wrong. They think her silence means, "I'm done." But often, it means, "I'm checking if I still belong to myself." Because a conscious woman doesn't want to be completed. She wants to be met. She doesn't need constant reassurance. She needs resonance. She wants to feel your center, not your chase. Your stillness, not your stories. Your depth, not your need to prove it. This kind of woman isn't impressed by charm. She's drawn to presence. Not the kind that enters a room loudly, but the kind that can sit in silence with her and not flinch. Because she can tell when you're speaking to her surface and when you're honoring her soul. And when she pulls away, it becomes your moment of initiation. Not into fixing, not into fear, but into stillness. The stillness required to hold space without needing answers. Because the man who cannot survive her distance will never be able to hold her closeness. And so, when she returns, if she returns, don't ask, "Why did you leave?" Ask instead, "What did you learn in the silence?" If you truly want to love a woman like this, you must make peace with the parts of her that are still making peace with herself. That's the difference between loving someone's potential and loving their process, between wanting to heal her and learning to hold space for her healing. She doesn't need you to fix her ancient wounds. She needs you, not to add new ones. She doesn't need you to fix her ancient wounds. She just needs you to not add new ones. And maybe, just maybe, she won't return. Not because there was no love, but because there was too much silence. Before she learned how to speak, too much giving. Before she learned how to pause, too much shape-shifting. Before she learned how to be still. Carl Jung believed that each soul walks a path toward wholeness, a journey of reclaiming what was lost, facing what was hidden, and integrating what was once denied. For the feminine, this often means walking away, not from others, but from the versions of herself that used to settle. And in the silence of her absence, she doesn't wait for apologies. She doesn't seek revenge. She simply becomes unreachable to what no longer honors her depth. You might think she's cold, but cold is what happens when someone's warmth has been taken for granted too many times. You might think she's complicated, but complication is what happens when you only listen to what's spoken and not to what's held back. You might think she gave up too soon, but giving up and letting go are not the same thing. She no longer fights to be understood in places unwilling to sit with her contradictions. She no longer chases the comfort of closeness if it costs her clarity, because closeness that isn't conscious becomes consumption, and she has no desire to be consumed again. So if you're wondering where she went back to the parts of herself she abandoned to meet someone else's needs. She went back to retrieve her intuition, her mystery, her voice, her stillness, and maybe one day she'll love again. But not as the girl who rushed in, not as the woman who silenced her boundaries. To be chosen she'll love as a force, not a performance. She'll show up with open hands, not open wounds. And if you ever meet her again, know this: you are meeting a woman who has touched her own soul and returned with a truth no one can take from her. She may still be quiet. She may still walk away sometimes. But this time, her silence isn't fear. It's freedom. Because the woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses. If this story stirred something in you, if it helped you understand the sacred intelligence behind her silence, then you've just witnessed something profound. You've seen through the eyes of both the feminine and the masculine. And perhaps you found a bridge between two ways of loving. Whether you're the woman who's been learning to honor her own depth, or the man who's been learning to hold space for someone else's healing. Remember this: understanding doesn't always lead to reunion, but it always leads to peace. And sometimes, peace is the greatest gift we can give, both to ourselves and to those we've loved. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, someone is sitting in silence, wondering if they're the only one who feels this deeply. Let them know they're not alone. Until next time, remember, love isn't about possession. It's about recognition. And the deepest love recognizes when someone needs space to remain whole